Hi. I am Mick Champayne, and I am so excited to be here. I fully recognize that I am between you and the party, so we will try to have a party and get us there. Um, was it working? Oh, yeah, my farty dude. I wanted to start by sharing a life lesson from one of my personal heroes, Bob Ross. He famously said, "We don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents."
You can always add a little blue if it gets too bright. Take a little phthalo blue and add it in there and dull it right down. Because you know, if you've painted with us before, we don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Because very soon you learn to work with anything that happens here. And when you get over that fear of making a mistake, then it becomes fun. Then it really becomes fun. That's when you experience the joy.
So I love that. He's talking about painting, of course, but he's really talking about something much bigger, the creative process. For most of us, though, especially in our line of work, accidents feel less than happy. They feel like mistakes. They feel like failures. And in an era that demands perfection, efficiency, and constant monetizable output, who has time for accidents? Well, it turns out that I did. I just didn't know it. So I'm going to tell you the story of my slow, unglamorous, and accidental recovery from burnout and the lessons that I learned along the way. But first, you're probably wondering, who is this Mick chick? So, like any Photoshop file or Figma or After Effects, whatever your flavor, worth its salt, I am a layered individual. I am a meme queen mom machine. My life is a chaotic mix of toddler negotiations and sending memes to match my mood. I'm an extroverted introvert. I love being here with all of you, but I will absolutely need a day or two just by myself to go and recharge after this. And I am a Chicagoan. I am every bit Midwestern, which means I am super friendly and often compared to a golden retriever. By day, I'm a designer on the Delight team for Google Search. We are a small team that gets to bring the element of surprise and delight and fun to literally billions of people. We call these Easter eggs, and in a way, they often feel like their own kind of happy accident that people get to discover. Here's one of our OGs. If you haven't ever done this, Google dual barrel roll. It even works on mobile. The whole page just spins. It's pointless, that's it, but it's perfect. And if you're on Google, you're probably searching for answers, right? So if you Google what is the answer to the life, the universe, and everything, you'll find that the answer is 42. And I hope you get that reference. Our goal is to be a delightful little break from the ordinary.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
And they're a fun reminder that there are real, kind of weird people behind Google. I love that one. The other half of me is an illustrator. I am a professional drawer of butts, boobs, and farts. And it's led to some pretty cool client work over the years. I've gotten to work on some Scandinavian hotel brands, a very bougie daycare center in the States, and if you're into influencers, even Emma Chamberlain's coffee brand, which is kind of cool. But most importantly for our story today, I am one half stinker and one half overthinker. Actually, let's zoom in on that overthinker part for a second because it has some main character energy in this story. I prefer to think of it as being professionally thoughtful. It means that I'm deeply empathetic, I feel a lot of feels, and I feel them often. And honestly, it's my creative superpower. It's how I find human connection in my work. But it's also my kryptonite. The problem-solving designer part of me is always on, always trying to force all of those messy feelings into neat, color-coded systems, lots of logic going on there. And when you do that without a break, it's a one-way ticket to burnout. So that is that notorious state of being completely and utterly fried. I don't know if you've ever experienced it. I hope that you haven't. But I've definitely had my brushes with creative blocks in the past, but at one point, it wasn't just one thing, it was literally everything. I've also heard it called a polycrisis, which seems pretty accurate. I will keep it brief, but hey, there was a pandemic, remember that? That was just pure wild survival mode. And then there were layoffs everywhere you look. Actually, they're still kind of happening, but they've been generating this constant low-grade hum of anxiety. And while I have been lucky so far, we then navigated a career change for my husband. I didn't realize at the time when we were doing it that it might not be the best time to become a software engineer, but we also had our son, Theo. Actually, we still have him. He is a very lovable tornado of a toddler. He's always keeping us on our toes 24/7. And then life really decided to throw me a curveball. We found out that my dad had a tumor the size of a tomato on the top of his brain. He was unfortunately diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is an aggressive and terminal form of brain cancer. He fought for a year and a half, always smiling until he couldn't anymore. And he was one rad dad, and he meant the world to me. And so much of who I am today is because of him. So going through all of that and losing him was incredibly hard, on top of all of the other life stuff and the work stuff and yada, yada, yada. And when life feels that heavy, the demand to create beautiful, meaningful, perfect work often feels impossible, and honestly, sometimes even pointless. And just when you think you've hit rock bottom, you discover the basement, because of course that's when AI decided to show up and have its big moment. If you were here this morning, Iris and Amelie were so gracious to walk us through all of that again, moment by moment. It was extraordinary if you saw it, if you caught their hype talk this morning. So thank you for that. I, of course, had a lot of feels. First, that it just felt pervasive, like you couldn't escape it. Honestly, you still can't escape it. Everyone talking about how it's coming for our jobs. The headlines were and still are relentless, with every day bringing a new doomsday warning. And if you're a creative who spends any time online, it's especially felt daunting, making us question our futures and livelihoods. There seems to be endless new creative tools to explicitly designed to render human artists unnecessary. And it's been a fundamental existential crisis and curveball, because apparently it's possibly putting us at the risk of extinction as a human race. So that was it. Like, I felt overwhelmed. I was out of gas and creatively feeling very blocked. And I wish I could say that I had some dramatic light bulb moment, like ding, like I get it, or a big epiphany in my burnout, but it was more like an accidental self-intervention that I only recognized in hindsight. I just started looking backwards, and I saw something I hadn't noticed before. A trail of weird, creative breadcrumbs that I'd kind of left myself without even realizing it. They were just a jumble of disconnected moments. There were clues, but I didn't really see a pattern or a path yet. So in my exhaustion, or maybe my desperation, I turned to our new AI overlords, and I went to Gemini, and I literally asked, how the hell do I get out of this fucking thing? So I loved its response. It was like, hell yeah, let's get these creative juices flowing, and maybe a few farts too. You should try putting a persona around your answers. It's super fun. So here are 5 solid steps to shake off that burnout. And it was surprisingly a sensible 5-step plan. Do something different, explore new things, collaborate, practice regularly, and the big one, give yourself permission to play. And as I read that list, I had a realization that my inner stinker, that messy, chaotic, fun-loving part of me, had already been doing a lot of these things, and completely by accident. So I guess that was my light bulb moment. AI didn't really give me the answer, but it gave me the framework to understand an answer I already had. It helped me get out of my own burnout hole, or bee-hole, if you will. So I decided to embrace it. I took those accidental breadcrumbs, these creative acts and habits that I already have, and I turned them into an intentional playbook, a way to kind of honor my inner stinker and make sure that my overthinker never really gets that burned out again. So first up was do something different. And for me, this breadcrumb actually leads right back to how I started drawing. Basically, my interest in illustration was born out of my frustration with my day job, a kind of act of creative rebellion, if you will. And most of my early career was spent on quote-unquote boring clients like appliance brands, financial institutions, and discount grocery stores. They'll remain nameless and faceless for now, but they were not, I assure you, not the coolest or sparkliest of projects, and almost always answering to other people, bosses, VPs, CEOs, CMOs, every acronym, everyone else but me. But I desperately needed something for me. I started drawing to kind of have complete control and creative direction when work was feeling less satisfying, and maybe more importantly, just to make myself laugh. There was just one tiny little problem. I genuinely thought I was bad at drawing. I had no confidence, didn't think I had any talent at all. And since we're friends here now, I can share some what I think are truly cringe pictures, are early drawings that my dad, bless his heart, had saved. I burned the rest. No, I didn't. But I also like to blame my high school art teacher, Ms. McAfee. I'm totally going to call her out here, but this is what I thought art had to be. Art with a capital A, realistic proportions, oil paintings, belongs in a museum kind of stuff. So for a long time, I had this huge mental block, and I never really picked up a pencil. But I have always really been into cartoons, and I still am, thanks to my dad. I grew up on a steady diet of Looney Tunes, Pink Panther, Ren and Stimpy, which honestly, as a parent now, I don't know why my dad let me watch that, but it's okay. So I decided to try something different and see if I could capture some of the joy of those Saturday morning cartoons. And since I seem to be all in on fairy tale metaphors this morning, or today, I, like Goldilocks, tried out a few things just to see what felt right. I first dipped my toe in with a set of gouache paints. I can't ever say that right, or watercolors, I guess, that I had gotten for Christmas. But I can't tell you how many pieces of very expensive paper that I was wasting trying to teach myself. So that was just too hot. So then I tried hand lettering, but that was a bit too intense and methodical and very rigid for me. So that was out. That was too cold. And then one day, probably in this mindless work meeting that I was in, I realized that I had this whole dumpster folder of memes and GIFs just sitting on my computer. Anytime I find them on the internet, I just kind of drag them and just put them into a special little archive just for me. So I started bringing them into Illustrator, and I would just trace over them in the meeting. I totally pay attention. Don't tell my boss. The goal was to take these really shitty pixelated pictures and simplify them, just kind of distill them into what I thought was the funniest part of them, but making sure that they're still readable at a glance. I spent actually so much time digitally doodling these things that my hand would start to cramp up because I was just using my trackpad. So that was kind of bad. Until one day, my friend let me play with Procreate on his iPad. He's so talented, Kyle Latender. He drew this for me, but it was a total game changer. It was just right. And not to use corpse speak, but it really unlocked art for me. Drawing became this incredible outlet, a place where I could finally draw all of those little brain farts that I have. And the designer in me loved the digital tools part of this. Give me layers all day, let me control Z. I'm just happier than a pig in shit. I didn't have to be precious about paper or drawing straight lines. I didn't have to scan them in. Previously, it was drawing with crayon and it was gunking up my scanner. And as an illustrator, I started to really be able to capture that look and feel that I had been in love with in all of those cartoons growing up, which is the beginnings of the style that I have now. And maybe because I'm a little petty, maybe slightly bitter, still at that high school art teacher, I started to poke fun at that whole idea of real art that had held me back for so many years. And even that was revelatory. I learned that there's a big distinction between fine art and art that's meaningful. And that's what this first breadcrumb was really about. By trying something different, I was able to break free from those mental blocks. I could be my own boss, I could have some fun, and I could just make things. Okay, so breadcrumb number 2, explore new things. If the first one was all about kind of free play, this one is more about having intent. So in other words, you can, in fact, teach an old butt new farts. So for years, I had wanted to learn 3D, but it was kind of this big, intimidating thing on my creative bucket list that I would always just put away, put off, tell myself I didn't have time for. Then over Christmas break last year, I just kind of had like a little bout of mania. I don't know, maybe it was being stuck inside the cold Chicago winter, but I finally felt motivated to rip the Band-Aid off and just teach myself. So I found a free tool, I'm all about free, called Spline. I picked one of my drawings and a YouTube video, and I just jumped right into it. And I went full goblin mode. Once I started, I couldn't stop, and for 3 days, I was just curled up on my computer, doing things. It was like my own little manic mini sprint to teach myself the basics of 3D. And sculpting a booty probably took up the most time. Getting those cheeks just perfectly rounded was actually really hard, and they're still not even perfect. And drawing a fart was incredibly hard. I loved it because it was challenging my brain to think in new ways. What would a butt look like from the front? I think we all know what technically is there, but just kind of this idea of 2D, drawing something in 2D and thinking about it in a third space was a really interesting challenge. And what I learned from this breadcrumb is that these intense creative sprints are the opposite of burnout. It's not just about aimless play, but it's about the focused joy of learning by doing, really following that weird spark of curiosity and reminding yourself that sometimes the best way to grow is just to start making things. For step number 3, Gemini told me to collaborate to explore new techniques, ideas, and perspectives. So here I saw an opportunity. Why not team up with the best of the best? Why not team up with myself? Well, at least kind of. So while AI just had my butt cheeks firmly clenched, I decided to turn my anxiety into a collaborator and train my own model in my style. Actually, it was pretty easy. I didn't have to go out and learn how to code or anything like that. Of course, there's a billion tools out there for it. You really just need a good data set and some patience, and then you'll just kind of fall into this, again, probably another little manic loop of testing and iterating. So I grabbed some of my finest pieces, all of the things that I had been drawing over the years. I threw them in, and I'm letting the machine do its job. It looks just like this. Oh, look at that. Wait. Oh, it totally bungled it. I honestly wasn't sure what the hell I was looking at. I think we all kind of put a lot of faith in AI in those early times, but for instance, I prompted a topiary shaped like a poodle. I'm thinking, I'm going to get a bush shaped like a dog. So I was not expecting some doggy style stuff, but you know what? That's okay, right? And the more I played with it, the more fun that I had. So starting out, super low expectations of it, but I weirdly loved those happy accidents. And the models over the years have definitely gotten better and more sophisticated, but I like to use the outputs more as first drafts, so like these. There's definitely still some things that are off about them, but I prefer to keep the human in the loop, so I will redraw them to make them feel truly like mine. I love to draw little boots, so obviously I had to redo his boots, and really just put my own stink on it. Another cool thing is how it's helped me evolve my own style. So here are some of the drafts. I had this little meme in my folder that was a woman wearing a bunch of hay or something like that, and it just says, "Dress for the job that you want." And I was like, I feel that. So I prompted that, and here's what I ended up drawing as a final. My style has always been, really simple line work, very limited color palette, but this has been showing me literally how I can play with things like texture, color, and shapes in all sorts of ways that I hadn't really considered before. I've found that my process has changed, and my role as well. I've become the curator, the director, the editor, and I really like to infuse that human spark into it. It was no longer me versus the machine. It was about what we could create together, turning AI into a collaborator. Other ways that I've been kind of collaborating with it is bringing my drawings to life. Lately, with the new launch of VO, I simply uploaded my drawing and said, transform my image, and it made this, which, I don't know, I just love her. I love that when she's going swimming. I've had a lot of fun with these. These are some little animations that I honestly could never have made myself. I don't know how to animate that well, so maybe I need another sprint for it, or maybe I won't have time, but either way, just super fun to bring those little guys to life. And it's been really fun to just explore weird things just because. So this was a drawing on the left that I did, and I tried to morph it and make it 3D. I don't really know what's going on in these pictures, but I'm like drawn to them, so like, I don't know. Okay, and one more, just because I couldn't stop, I also decided to prank my son. Just, get him back for all the shit he's been putting me through. So I made these magical little videos of his favorite toys and books coming to life to kind of blow his little mind. The first one was some Legos. He's also really been into magnetiles lately, so I made his magnetiles come to life. I have this great book. It's really more a book for me, but it was just kind of fun to bring these little guys to life. There's also a DJ and a chef. So fun to see that. And then last but not least, we've got good old Mr. Dr. Seuss.
You cannot escape us.
So yeah, he was just like, whoa, that's so cool. So by treating AI as a collaborator instead of a competitor, I was able to turn my anxiety into an asset. It kind of became a sandbox for happy accidents, a way to generate unexpected ideas and push my creativity in directions I never would have found on my own. And the fourth breadcrumb really is the one that ties it all together, practicing regularly. This wasn't some grand disciplined decision. It really started super small with a habit I didn't even realize was a form of practice. My digital hoarding. My camera roll is an absolute garbage dump. I have almost 200,000 photos and videos on there, and that's only the past 10 years or so. There's a bunch of hard drives with other ones too. People always tell you, put down the camera, live in the moment, but I have found that I live more in the moment when I stop to frame a picture and really notice what's around me. I'm constantly taking trips for inspiration, hello Namor, and to broaden my worldview, but I also love to stop and smell the proverbial roses, even in my own neck of the woods. And I don't know if you've noticed by now, but I'm a bit of an oversharer, and I've moved a lot of my digital hoarding onto platforms as a way to share and connect with people. I'm also a chronic Instagrammer. I love to share stories, and I love to look at it, and I like to look at it as a kind of a tiny promise to myself to have a point of view, even if it's just for a moment. I love to share things from the trips that I take. Obviously, all of the inspiration, all of the little ephemera around the towns and stuff like that, and the things that I learned, the fun facts, the bits of trivia. I especially love to tell a bigger story across multiple slides, and sorry in advance if you ever notice that the hash marks at the top just become dots, because I'm prolific sometimes. And from my everyday, I challenge myself to really look at the things that may go overlooked or unnoticed. I will stop and look up, look down, look over, just the things, as you're going about your day that you might just glance over. Those are the things that really light me up, and I love to capture them, which in turn has even turned into its own ritual. So every morning, I'm a runner. I love to go for a run. I run as far as I can for as long as I can away from my family, because it is just me time. And I will stop and take pictures, or a dozen, just because. And then I like to share that moment by putting whatever song that I'm listening to up on the story or on the picture, just kind of a way to document how I'm feeling and sharing it. And I've been doing it for 5 years now, and it's been fun to flip through and kind of remember and recall where I was at and what the time was. So I also don't know if you've noticed this either, but I love to make a quick joke. So I started an art direction at an ad agency years ago, so I really love and appreciate when art and copy play together. I love a visual pun, which all kind of set me up perfectly for doing some drawing challenges. A 30-day drawing challenge popped up that kind of broke me in and made it feel less intimidating. The one that I really loved was called Shake-tember. Rest in peace, it's no longer a thing anymore, but it's kind of like Inktober, if you've ever done that one too. But basically, it was a fun little challenge, a 30-day drawing challenge where they give you prompts, and it's fun to see how everybody interprets the prompt too when they share it. And the prompts were actually super helpful when staring at a blank page. The daily aspect of it would really get my synapses fired. It taught me to embrace those failures. It also taught me to just like get something out. It doesn't matter what it is, not be too precious, and as a byproduct, really built up this big body of work that I'm really proud of. And from there, I moved on to an app called Doodle Draw. It gives you a new blob every day to just kind of draw on top of. I'll take whatever it gives me, and I will draw what inspires me on top of it. I try really, really hard to draw the first thing that comes to mind. Sometimes it takes some squinting or just kind of like rotating it, turning it upside down, but once I get an idea, I'll try to really challenge myself by borrowing the yes and rule from improv, if you're familiar, just kind of going with whatever I saw first and trying to introduce something unexpected. For instance, if I see a crocodile in that blob shape, I will try to yes and it. I will ask myself, like, how can I add something unexpected? What if it's someone baiting the croc with a croc? I don't know. Yeah, it's stupid, but like, it doesn't always work, but it's a good challenge for myself. And if it doesn't work visually, then I'll try copy. So I called this one Woof Pack. I guess I like puns, I'm sorry. This one is Conquer Your Fears. This one is Practicing Positive Affirmations. Thank you. And still calling it back to that classical art, this is Mr. Burns Devouring His Smithers, inspired by Saturn Devouring His Sun by Goya. And now I have this practice where I try to invoke my inner New Yorker cartoonist. Maybe one day, I doubt I'll ever get there, but with a witty caption. This is all where it's coming together. I wasn't just drawing anymore, I was saying something. I was developing a point of view. And all of those reps, the noticing, the sharing, the daily doodles, eventually grew into a practice that I have today and has really helped to sharpen my creative voice. It's not about the one perfect thing that you make, it's about the 100 messy, silly, stupid ideas that you made along the way that taught you who you are, which is the key ingredient for the final and most important breadcrumb, the one that makes all of the others possible, giving yourself permission to play. And while I obviously have no problem doing that outside of my day job, this is a good reminder that you can and should do it within your day job. One of my favorite projects really let me tap right back into that inner child and do just that. I'm really dating myself here, but I have been hooked on digital design since the early internet days. I was designing and coding my own GeoCities, MySpaces, on my purple compact computer desktop in the middle of the living room. I was using excessive use of GIFs, custom cursors, and these, I wish these were mine, but they're not. I don't have any more artifacts. My dad didn't keep that hard drive, I guess. The one feeling I remembered, though, was how much fun the internet was at that time. It was weird and personal and chaotic. So that kind of leads me to this case study. Once upon a time, I got to work on Cards Against Humanity project. And if you're unfamiliar with Cards Against Humanity, it's a self-described card game for horrible people. And Black Friday is a day in America where we all go insane for bargains, and it's kind of chaotic. And I think it's kind of morphed over here. I'm not sure. But they Cards Against Humanity always likes to show up for the Black Friday, and they have a very like subversive sense of humor, and so they really try to pull pranks every Friday, and it's the kind of thing they've become known for. So they decided that year that they were going to get out of the card making business, like it was not making enough money for them, and get into the more lucrative potato chip business, and just fully embrace capitalism here. So in the course of maybe 2 weeks, we created an entire new brand of chips. And we did an extensive competitive audit of the snack market, found that nobody was owning the color pink, so of course we went with it. As far as mascots, that was a whole fun sprint to figure out like what should be the mascot and the face of this brand. They totally ripped off Pringles, if you couldn't make that joke. They're called Prongles. So we heroed in on, this is Braden, the mascot. He is a rude, crude party hog. And we actually got them onto shelves into Target for Black Friday. And we also accidentally went viral because as somebody was putting them onto the shelves, a photo leaked and it went totally viral on Reddit and Twitter, even caught the attention of a Jonas brother, which is, I'm not even into that music, but that was cool, I guess. My role was the website. My brief was to, 1, sell potato chips, and 2, create an experience that reflected this new venture's commitment to bold thinking and even bolder flavors. I had about 4 days and a Thanksgiving deadline, and so I just kind of flexed my shitty designer muscles. I threw out my grid, purposely designed the most obnoxious cloud clip art filled site that I could. It was pure, careless, joyful play, and we were only limited by time and not ideas. You could vote for your next flavor. There was tacos and burritos. There was the whole fish and America, which honestly probably tastes like garbage. But you could download wallpapers. You could sign a guest book. That part was still under construction. We didn't have time for that one, but we even created a jingle for it. It's a great song. It auto-played on the site, and if you tried to turn it down, it would just get louder. So it was like purposely like obnoxious. This is like a 3-minute song too. Like the design director had a friend who's a musician, and he sang it, even wrote like a full song to it.
Spotlight, hogging the chips. I got 2 cans of problems I'm about to flip.
Okay.
The tops, cause once you pop.
Sorry. Okay. Bad usability, bad website, but maybe good user experience because the fans went nuts. It went viral. It sold out everywhere. It started conspiracy theories and actual think pieces. And it's a gift that keeps on giving because I fulfilled a lifelong dream of becoming a meme. I actually see this meme kind of crop up every once in a while on the internet, which is super cool. And someone even got a tattoo. So that's great. Okay, so zooming out and to really bring this home, the breadcrumbs finally made sense that creativity isn't a grand process. It's an accumulation of small, seemingly random acts of joy. Trying something different helped me get over mental blocks. Exploring new things taught me to follow my curiosity. Collaborating with AI taught me that the most unexpected growth comes when you invite a new perspective into your process. Practicing regularly sharpened my skills and helped me find my voice. And giving myself permission to play was just a reminder I needed to hear. And here's the final happy accident. All of this weird, disconnected, joyful breadcrumbs weren't actually random at all. They were actually leading me right to my current role, where my literal job is to take these exact lessons of play, surprise, humanity, and build them into our products. For one, it's brought my love of cartoons full circle. We celebrated 75 years of the Peanuts comic strip, so I got to work with the iconic, timeless character, Snoopy, which is a direct line back to that childhood joy that started me on the path in this first place. I remember my dad always giving me the Sunday newspaper with all the comics on the back. The meme queen in me got to stan a breakout character. I don't know if y'all followed any of Love Island USA, but she won it. Her name was Amaya Papaya. I don't know, it's a whole thing. But I got to make her a papaya emoji because that's not an emoji that exists. I especially love when we get comments like this. Give a bonus to the Google employee that thought of this. I'm like, still waiting. But I've gotten to collaborate on the biggest project of my career. We helped launch a worldwide real-life scavenger hunt for Swifties. If you're a Swiftie, you know what that is, but Taylor Swift fans. We hid 12 orange doors in 12 cities and had them unscrambling dozens of things. And ultimately, we had them use their collective Swiftie power to unlock the final door so that they could go and see an exclusive video, which was a true gift to them, and it was super cool. We played into a long-running joke that Ed Sheeran and Rupert Grint are the same person by mixing up their pages. We have a feature called Did You Mean? So when he Googled himself, he saw that it was Rupert Grint and vice versa. Stupid and silly.
Maybe we're just all the same person.
So, I loved it. And finally, I got to celebrate Ozzy Osbourne's iconic legacy. And we couldn't just show up in a sad, solemn memorial. Instead, we made a crazy train that chugged across the screen, a perfect tribute that captured his spirits. We said, "Thanks for the mayhem, Prince of Darkness." So looking back, as the overthinker in me has tried to reverse engineer everything, I realized that creativity isn't a neat, optimized flywheel. It's something much more chaotic and beautiful. It's a Rube Goldberg machine. It's a chain reaction where every weird, seemingly pointless piece has a critical role to play. The weird stuff that you do just for you, the stuff that might feel like a distraction, it's not. It's the fuel that makes the whole machine run. That energy builds momentum, and in the most unexpected ways, starts to connect and trigger the next part of the machine. So every silly, unnecessary step is absolutely essential to get that final, delightful result. The output isn't just the final product, it's a more resilient, more creative, and more authentic you. So I guess my last piece of advice for you is to really focus on what makes you happy. All of these small, joyful, sometimes silly moments are what make up a creative life. They're the things that refill your cup and remind you why you started in the first place. Because maybe the real treasure is the happy accidents we make along the way. Thank you.